Shalom to all watching online. Happy new moon to y'all as well. All right. So this topic, I've been thinking about this particular thought process in my head for on and off for some weeks. It's called Heavy is the Head, the Spiritual Weight of Leadership. We're going to kind of explore the cost of responsibility, the burden or the weight of responsibility of leadership. And this is definitely going to be something that I'll probably do in a longer format. Lord's will, I get to teach a Sabbath class because I think it would be good for all the leaders in the nation to hear the full breadth of this. Kind of like when I did the Fire in My Bones, and I knew that it needed to be more. A lot of times I'll come up with these new moon topics, and I'll be like, man, this is it's too much for me to just do. Like, I need the 2 hour 45 to do the whole thing. I really kind of put this together in the rough draft. So you guys are getting the first version of it. This is a This is just kind of my initial thoughts on this. And I don't know, these past couple of days, I've just been thinking about, I don't know if y'all heard this, it's heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? Heavy is the head that wears the crown. And it's a statement that I think a lot of times we use words and they don't really capture the essence of something. You ever find yourself trying to explain something and you're just not getting your emphasis through? You ever heard the term hollow words? Sometimes words are not enough. But I think this one it's just been kind of meditating on in my head a lot. And there's an unseen weight of responsibility. I don't even know if with the class I'm going to be able to fully bring it out. And what I think is, often there's things in leadership that people may never see or rarely see. And until you walk in it, you're not able to see it. I'll put it this way. I'll tell you a story. Back in when I used to work different managerial jobs and things like that, I don't know if you ever heard the term, like it's a different type of kung fu or whatever. Like, and what the reference is that there's so many different styles of kung fu, right? There's praying mantis and, you know, all the Wu-Tang chambers and all that stuff. And I knew this guy who was in management, and he used to say it all the time. He'd be like, listen, you guys think out front that you can do what we do. And it's not to say that some of you might not be able to. It's just you never really know until you get there, right? So it's a whole nother type of kung fu. You're looking at it from your perspective, and you know kung fu, right? We work in the same industry, but the kung fu changes when you get, you know, to the next level behind that door. And I think that's the best way to understand it. In other words, they'll say you got to walk a mile in that person's shoes to fully understand. And it's easy for people to comment and say and not know, right? Like there's so many commentators on sports, but they could probably never play the game at that level, right? But they got a lot to say about it, right? And it's not to say that they're wrong. People respect their opinions. But it's a different perspective than what you get. So much so that they desire the retired players to be commentators because they give a different take and perspective than the ones that ever played the game. And I'm painstakingly laying that out because it's one of those things that goes unappreciated. It's a different type of kung fu. And the only people you can tend to lean on are people who have walked in those shoes in that level, right? So the crown is going to refer to many things. It can be leadership. It can be stewardship. So you don't necessarily have to be, okay, I'm a deacon, I'm an officer, I'm this, for you to understand, right? Because it applies. It can be fatherhood, or it could be simply being in a position where you have influence, right? And the weight changes. The weight. It changes the way you see, think, and feel. It changes you. If you let the process of the development and leadership take you there. A lot of you are just leaders in name and in title and in rank, but you've not grown into the leadership, right? Get me that is in Samuel when the Lord was not yet dealing with him. Is it like second or third chapter?
Yes, sir.
Around there? Get me that. I didn't have that down, but I'm thinking of that.
The book of 1 Samuel, chapter 3 and verse. We'll start at 6. And the Lord called yet again Samuel. And Samuel arose and went to Eli and said, Here am I, for thou didst call me. And he answered, I called not, my son. Lie down again. Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord, neither was the word of the Lord yet revealed unto him.
Right. So he was being called, quite literally, the Lord was calling him. But it says, even though he heard the calling, he did not yet know the Lord, neither was the word revealed to him. Many of you can read the same Bible that we all read, but you don't see the revelation of the word. And I hate to say it that way because it sounds very Christian preachery, like, you know, God gonna give you the revelation. But it's true. It's true. And I'll hear commentary about different teachers, myself included. Oh, man, you know, you're so detailed in the way you bring that out. And that's the revealing. When I've always said it's one thing to look at it and say, yeah, I know what that means. It's another thing entirely to be able to give the sense. And that's what real revelation is. I've used the example of when I've taught self-defense and you teach people that. And you learn more, and it's different on the other side. And any of you who have been through that, you know, whatever career field it is or whatever, if you really embrace that, you'll see that, right? So where's the origin of this quote? It's actually a Shakespeare quote, right? And it's a reflection on the weight of power. The real quote is uneasy lies the head that wears a crown. And it's from Shakespeare's Henry IV, all right? And in that moment, King Henry IV can't sleep. He is restless. He's haunted by the burdens of rulership. And Shakespeare's line isn't simply a poetic line. It's psychological. And, you know, a lot of times, especially us as Jake, you're like, oh, Shakespeare, that's corny and this and that. But what made him so successful was many of his plays were kind of thought experiments. They were statements on the time. As is such the case with a lot of great fiction writers, they address things that are reality, but they do it through the lens of fiction so that they can have more leeway in going through it. And it really captures what every true leader feels. The crown doesn't just sit on your head, it presses on your soul. And there's a restlessness that happens for leaders. And I'm talking about, I'll say this. There's poor leaders and there's good leaders. Or rather, I'll say not poor and, I don't want to frame it as good and bad. There's effective leaders and then there's poor leaders. And the effective leaders are the ones that are restless. They're the ones that they lose the sleep. Their mind it's not something they do. It's their mind is always on it. I'll give you an example. I'll randomly message you guys about something, right? And it'll be like midday or late at night or whatever it is, and I'll hit you with something, and you're like, damn, like, where's this coming from all of a sudden, right? There's something happening. No, it's just because my mind is always spinning. Asher just asked me, well, how'd you come up with the topic for tonight? So I'm explaining to you where the topic came from. And I'll give you, before I get into the weight of my scriptures here, what I've been thinking in application to me is how much the deaconship has changed me. And then it made me start thinking of from when I went to officer to captain, when I moved up through captain ranks, because I've been in positions where men that were over me once, I now became over them. And this isn't even going to be about navigating all those type of relationships. And many of you know I've spoken about it. Captain Abiel's been probably my closest friend ever. I've known Captain Abiel about 25 years now, I think, probably. He came into I met him in the world, came into the truth with me. And he mentioned something the other day. And it might have been through text. I don't even think we were talking on the phone. And he says, it was something to the effect like he notices how we're still able to remain close, but he also sees the changes that I've had to make in moving through different phases of leadership. And he says he understands it, because sometimes I have to, and he's good, because it's rare that somebody can make that adjustment that's close to an individual that's in leadership. Sometimes I got to talk heavy to him. Sometimes I got to talk what others might feel as disrespectful, but it's not. It's just forcefulness to get through to something, to try to shock something in him. And he's able to separate the two. And that's one thing I've always noticed about him. And there's times where I might have some pushback from him, but he'll always go and reflect on it and then come back and speak about it. And he's not afraid. He's not a yes man. He'll stand his ground on something, even if later he has to change his mind. Like in the moment, he might stand his ground. Anyway, my point is, it made me think a lot about myself and how my relationships have changed, how I have to move, not just with people close to me, but even people in the body when it comes to leadership. And there's a weight to it. And it's a necessary change that has to happen. Hopefully you guys can take that intro as we go into the scriptures and apply that to wherever it needs to be applied for y'all. We're going to start with Wisdom of Solomon 6. We're going to start at verse 1. Because, I often talk about David and Paul, but Solomon, it's funny. In all his wisdom and his awareness, he still succumbed to the same things that he warned against. But in its own way, it's poetic. And I don't mean that the scriptures are poems, because his life and what most of his verses are about in the Bible actually go in detail to what I just explained in my opening. Because he was able to use himself, having learned that style of kung fu, and say, oh, snap, right? But it started with his humility, right, of knowing that he didn't know, right? What did he pray for? He prayed for wisdom. But let's start here, right? Wisdom of Solomon 6 and 1.
The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6 and verse 1. Hear therefore, O ye kings, and understand. Learn, ye that be judges of the ends of the earth.
Right, so notice, he says, listen and learn. Learn from me. Learn from my mistakes. Don't the world see me as the wisest king, right? I never said I was. The world saw him that way, right? People will come to visit him and say, I need to see this wise king, right? They would bring tribute to Solomon, not just because of the power of Israel, but because they heard that he was the wisest of them all, right? So he says, look, learn, ye that be the judges of the ends of the earth. Who are the judges of the ends of the earth? The saints. The saints. He's talking to his people. Because this walk is not a passive walk. This is a walk of participation. There's overlap with the fire in your bones. This is something that we are, not just something that we do, right? Go ahead, come on.
Give ear, ye that rule the people, and glory in the multitude of nations.
Right. So he says, give that ear. Ye, those of you that rule the people, you need to hear, right? Come on.
For power is given you of the Lord.
You have to understand that. Many of you desire rank, but you do not understand. Like, so when we read that, let's get that in Psalms about the promotion. Because what's really given in that, see, a lot of brothers, they quote that scripture. Yeah, I understand the promotions of the Lord. But then you're in your feelings about people being promoted over you. You don't understand that the reason God said, Psalm 78, right? Psalm 78?
The book
Am I right? 75.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. The book of Psalms, chapter 75 and verse 6.
Come on.
For promotion cometh neither from the east,
Uh-huh.
nor from the west, nor from the south. But God is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another.
Right. So you have to understand what he's really talking about. When you put somebody in a judgment position, when you put somebody in a position of some sort of authority or influence, there is power given to that individual. And with that power, it's going to sound cliche, comes great responsibility. There comes a great responsibility behind it. And the responsibility is that heaviness, is that weight, right? Is that uneasiness for those who embrace it the right way. Is there more on that?
That's it.
Okay, let's go back. Come on.
The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6 and verse 3. For power is given you of the Lord.
And let's look up the word sovereign or sovereignty, all right, while we're at it. Go ahead, come on.
And sovereignty from the highest.
Power is given of the Lord. So when you read about that promotion, it's not necessarily the name of the title that you have, because at the end of the day, any rank title, which it is biblical, right? Any rank title, what it really translates to is judges of the people. And in that, there's a power given over that and a level of responsibility that comes with it. And that's why I say many of you are just that in name. You haven't really, you've shown a little something. And you can't really learn or master that level of kung fu until we put you and give you the responsibilities of it. It's kind of like sparring, right? You can learn all the technique that you want, but if you don't pressure test it. Same thing with like job training, like tradesmen, right? Plumbers, electricians, whatever it might be, right? You go through journeyman, apprentice, and all that. You have to actually get your hands dirty, so to speak, right? So sovereignty, we could read that. And then I want to see what dictionary.com has to say. Let's read that real quick.
Sovereignty, the power of a country to control its own government.
Right. You've been given authority over the greatest people on the earth. You've been given, and when I say authority, it's the ability to guide them back home. The power to be able to be not just the example in deed, but obviously in word. And the burden of being the counselor to those people to make sure that they get themselves right. To guide them back home. What does dictionary.com say?
Sovereignty, the quality or state of being sovereign or of having supreme power or authority.
Come on.
The status, dominion, power, or authority of a sovereign, royal rank or position.
Right. I like that one. It's a royal rank or position, meaning that there has to be some regality behind it. It's not just something that you treat or take for granted. That's why we so severe on brothers who give their rank up, because you don't know what the calling the Lord has put you in. And instead of growing into it, but I rather that than you play games and BS, right? And that's why we have to take it from people sometimes. And the ones that think it's a slap on the wrist and I'm just going to sit without the rank, there's a lot of levels to this. Like I said, I'm going to keep it a little lighter tonight. My mind's going all over the place with it, but I'm going to keep it a little lighter tonight. Let me see the similar words on sovereignty.
Sovereignty, dominance, jurisdiction, supremacy.
Jurisdiction I like, right? Because here, like, it means it's your job, right? Like, this is my area where I need to deal with. Jump down to the strong matches.
Ascendancy, ascendant, dominion, preeminence.
Preeminence. I like preeminence. Why? Because the scripture talks about those that like preeminence, but not for the righteousness' sake, right? All right, I just want to let y'all get that in your head. Let's go back. Let's read 3 again. Come on.
The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6 and verse 3. For power is given you of the Lord, and sovereignty from the highest, who shall try your works and search out your counsel.
Listen to that part right there. You're given power, authority, and you're given that jurisdiction and preeminence over the saints. And he said he will try your works and search out your counsels. Let me deal with the first part. So he's going to try your works as a leader. Come on, read this verse. Read that part again.
For power is given you of the Lord, and sovereignty from the highest.
Come on.
Who shall try your works.
He'll try your works. He will try your works. What does that mean? If you're being tried, he's trying to show you something about you. He's trying to put you in a position. Some of you be like, damn, I keep messing up. You can either go in your shell and come out with all types of wild, crazy stuff and say, I'm being accused of kidnapping and all types of other stuff, right? Or you can look at it as the trial that it is to try your works to make you a better leader. Because let me tell you something. There is no passing the buck as a leader. I warn brothers that are in position. You can say that it's the individual only to a point. I use the sports example. Who do they get rid of? The whole team or the manager when they want to make a change? The manager. The manager. Because they need to learn how to work with what they got. Yeah, there's some latitude to try to position your team the way you want it, the way you need it. But at the end of the day, the weight of accountability, you can only go but so far in saying it was them. Because then what do I need you for? I need people who are going to be able to maximize what they got, right? As best as possible. And then you try to build and go from there. But my point is that trying that happens, many of you don't let that thing. You get into your feelings about it. We come to you and tell you, you know, you're not fit to be this rank. We gave you a shot. You haven't shown those things. And rather than let that trying do its perfect work, it has to be that everything else is wrong and everyone else is wrong. You need to be able to reflect on the leadership parts. To much is given, much is required. We're trying to raise and elevate you with what's been given unto us. And those of us that are effective leaders, it's not random stuff. There's a process. There's a reason. What do they say? There's a method to the madness. Why do they call it madness? Because it might seem, when you don't understand, why is it like this? Why is this pressure being applied? Why are these things being said? And many of you crumble and fold under that. Just because you put in a lot of works doesn't mean you be an effective leader. And there's a distinction. But initially, that's all we got to go by. We identify people that have a zeal, that have a desire, and we say, okay, this is the way and this is the progression that's there. It's not just some random titles that we give each other. There's spiritual, and that's why we choose titles that the scripture uses. Because even in that, there's weight. I remember the bishops used to be called elders. And yes, the scriptures are called elders, but guess what? And it may sound wild, but when they changed to bishops, there was an elevation in everything we did. Because there's something powerful and spiritual about those type of titles. Because guess what? Elders can be very broad, right? Bishop is very specific. Deacon is very specific. Officer over this is very specific. Captain of this is very specific. Even within the ranks. If you look up the distinction, we're not going to do it today. Maybe when I do the longer version of this, we'll look at the definition of captain and officer, right? There's a level. Why do you think the military structures and they have different names for it? Guess what? All of the ranks that have names in the military are called officer ranks, except when you get to like general and things like that. They call them field officers, so on. Like, if you look into the way the military hierarchy is set up, right? And you have second lieutenant, first lieutenant, captain, then you have major, then you have lieutenant colonel and colonel, and then you get to the generals, right? All of them have the naming and the framing that way because there's a distinction, there's a power, there's an authority and a sovereignty that comes with it. And no, there's not an equality. There's a difference between a captain of 100 and 200. There's a difference between an officer of 20 and an officer of 50. There's a difference between an officer of 20 and an officer of 20 that has seniority. And it's not just the difference because of time. Because when you meditate on the divine accountability of leadership, there's something in there that nobody will ever be able to catch up to that experience. As far as when you're staying within those ranks, is what I mean. Like if you're looking at all things being equal, that's why we put relevance on that seniority. It's only right. You read that when you read in Romans when Paul salutes the brethren, and he was over them in the Lord, but he said they were in Christ before me. Why? Because there's still value to the time in the walk. Though others were magnified above those later, you can't discount those type of things. Come on, let's go back. Read 3 again.
Verse 3, for power is given you of the Lord, and sovereignty from the highest, who shall try your works and search out your counsels.
And search out your counsels. Can we get that one that they must give account? Obey them to have the rule. Right? Is that it? Get that real quick.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 13 and verse 17. Obey them that have the rule over you.
Come on.
And submit yourselves, for they watch for your souls, as they that must give account.
That's what we just read in Wisdom of Solomon. He says, and search out your counsels. God search out the counsels of leaders. It's not a light thing. That's why I get so mad when somebody give dumb counsel. And that's why I tell you that was above your strength. Don't try to let yourself think that you're able to go ahead and give that type of advice. The hell's wrong with you? Stop trying to make decisions and extol yourself in your own counsel. And it's all right. Take the opportunity when there's learning. I'll let you know if you're asking too much and say, bro, as a leader, you got to start making some decisions. Right? Because you can err on the other side of that and not let the trying happen. And you're asking before every counsel and every advice. I got a rule, and maybe y'all don't know this, but I'm going to put it out there. And we solidified that rule at this last men's conference collectively as deacons. Nobody should give marriage counsel that's less than an officer of 50. No marriage counsel if you're less than an officer of 50. If y'all forgot that, if y'all don't know about that, and for those of you seeking counsel, there is no marriage counsel to be given. Unless you, and I'm talking about when you got to bring both the spouse and the husband up, right? There's things that you can quote in scriptures as a junior man and re-identify and stuff like that. But you got to be at least a 50 to give marriage counsel. I always had that rule here. And then we happened to collectively come to a head where we said, look, we got to look at this thing. We shouldn't let certain men give that type of counsel. That's a rule. And I'm putting it out there. That's not some revealing of some internal thing, because I want those of you, because if you have a self-willed 10, 20 or soldier trying to counsel your marriage, that's out of order. They're going to destroy your marriage. They're going to destroy your marriage with the advice that they're going to give you. So you that are in those ranks below a 50, humble yourself, right? Why? Because there's certain things that, as again, the weightiness, wisdom's weight, that we realize you can't just give that to everybody. You read that Jethro told Moses, only let them bring the things that are hard to you. Guess what's one of the hardest things in Israel? Marriage. Marriage.
You ain't lying.
I'll give you another one. And even though we do it sparingly when I say this, financial advice. Brothers don't have a car, could barely pay their rent, always from job to job, whether you lose it or you freaking quit it, right? You got no stability in your life, and you're going to counsel somebody on stability? And here's the kicker. If you understood the weight of the responsibility and how God is trying your counsels and judging your counsels, you, if you feared the Lord, wouldn't even give that advice. You wouldn't even try to give that advice. And I know some sisters give counsel, right? You have this whole senior sister thing and all of that. I'm telling you, some of you sisters are dumb as a rock. God bless y'all. Y'all have some gifts that you can give, but you have no intuition. You have... Some of y'all be victims of all types of scams. Y'all don't have the head for it. You don't have the head for it. And if you're an outlier and you do, then great. Most of you don't. All right? You get caught up in it. There's a reason the Lord called you the weaker vessel. You're not only a different type of flesh, you came from man. God breathed the commandments into Adam. He didn't breathe them into you. The man's responsibility was to, right? And that goes into the husbandry and everything else. And that's part of the weight of leadership. Let's not even talk about rank. Let's talk about those of you brothers that want to get married. Husbandry falls under heavy is the head. Most of you want to get married because of the head down there. Not realizing that this head needs to be sound. You need to have a pattern and a stability. Some of y'all don't even know how to budget for toilet paper. And you want to say, I'm ready for a wife. That's why Bishop Yalsop, when we were going over the men's conference in Feast of Tabernacles, when I went over that whole thing about, get that, but I'm burning. Shut up. You don't think you're going to be judged for that too? The type of husband you were, the type of father you were. I'm not just talking about the rank and stuff in here. That's why I say I gotta give the fuller version of this class. I'm still on the first scripture. I'm trying to open your eyes. I'm trying to open your mind, right? I want to take all that meat off that bone, right, so to speak. Because you'll read these verses, and many of you will be, yeah, and I'm talking about some of you. So your yeah should be, yeah, that's me. How does this apply to me? Because guess what? That's what I do when the scriptures cut me all the time. That's why I'm able to teach them confidently. Because I'll assess them. I'll let them do what they need to do to me. And I say, all right, now I got to bring it out. I got to bring it out. That's how you be an effective leader. That's how you be a profitable teacher, right? So read verse 3 again. Come on.
The book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6 and verse 3. For power is given you of the Lord, and sovereignty from the highest, who shall try your works and search out your counsel.
Notice what he said. He says, I want to give you ear, right? He says, I need you to learn. The judges are the ends of the earth. I need you to give ear to me that rule the people, right? Because, for means because, for power is given unto you of the Lord. It's a blessing. It's a special calling, just like Samuel was being called, just like any of our forefathers were being called. For you to treat it so cavalierly, even the rank of a soldier, even the honor of a man of valor. Every office we have for our people is precious. Even stewardship, right? Because that's what the offices are. You say, how does this apply to me? Every office you're given, there's honor in it and it's given of the Lord, right? He says, for power is given you of the Lord and sovereignty from the highest. He says, and he's going to try your works. If your only office is taking out the trash, be the best damn trash man that there is. I know it sounds funny, but it is. Because then the Lord, right? And this then carries over to where Christ, so whom much is given, much is required. He says, he was faithful in little. How can he be faithful in much? All this has overlay, right? The scriptures are a symphony, a chorus that harmonizes together. And your mind should then open up as you see all these things, right? And then he says, and search out your counsels. Come on, read.
Verse 4, because being ministers of his kingdom.
That's what it means. That's what it means to have that crown given to you. That's what it means to be a steward, to be a father, to be a husband, to be a mother, to be a wife, to be a soldier, officer, captain, deacon, bishop. That's what it means. Read that again.
Because being ministers of his kingdom.
You are all part of the ministers of his kingdom. Come on.
Ye have not judged aright.
He's getting on the people. He says, you guys haven't done right. Remember, why does he say that? Because when you read at the end, towards the end of the Sirach, he says, all the rulers were in error except 3. It says all of them defective. Like when you get something and you got to return it because it's defective, right? Out the box, it wasn't working. Out the box, all the kings, save 3, were defective. Go ahead, come on.
Because being ministers of his kingdom, ye have not judged aright, nor kept the law, nor walked after the counsel of God.
And you have to meditate on those things, right? Rulership is not a privilege, is what he's telling you. But it needs to be viewed as stewardship. Every decision, every judgment is weighed in heaven. Every decision, and I've said this in other words, I said when you accept any responsibility where you're given oversight, you're accountable for your individual actions and then now your actions on how you dealt with everybody else. It's like what we read in Hebrews, that they watch for your souls, right? This is that unseen heaviness behind every righteous leader's mind, every effective leader's mind, to be tested not only by people, because boy, let me tell you, man, y'all test me all the time. All the time. But by God himself. But by God himself. And I tell you what, when I accepted my first rank, which was an officer 20, I started as an officer 20, I had no freaking clue that that's what I was stepping into. When I got promoted to a 50, I had no clue that that's what I was stepping into. And then when I got called to be a captain, and then they were raising the number of captain, I said, what does that even mean? What was the last guy? Captain 3000. What does that even mean? I know it means that I should be able to lead 3,000 people, but I'm not leading 3,000. What did that mean? And I would meditate on those things. I remember I had told Captain Zeph because I think the announcement was made and I couldn't go to that particular Passover. And I was like, damn, that's crazy. And I told him that. It was in text. He might not even remember, but I told him, I said, I don't even know what that means. He said, bro, you a leader. He goes, and we see it. He goes, and leadership sees it, And mind you, he was junior to me. But as a junior man, he understood and saw, right? And that's another level to it. That's not just given. Yes, you respect the rank, but a lot of you men with the rank, you got to be able to gain that loyalty, gain that dedication. You ever heard the term where people are like, yo, I run through a wall for you? Nobody ever sets out as a leader to get people to do that. But people believe in what you say and what you do so much that they're telling you that I'm willing to go wherever you go. It's like David's mighty man, right? He said, man, I'm thirsty. He said, we got you. We got you. Right? Went through enemy lines and all that, right? He didn't tell them go and do that. They took that upon themselves, right? Because of the type of leader that David is. A lot of times we say was, but we got to start saying is, right? We talk about is. So understand, right, that divine accountability of leadership, right? And then some more of the heaviness is that knowledge and sorrow, right? Let's get Ecclesiastes 1:18. Ecclesiastes 1:18. And then I also want Romans 9 after that. I don't have that written down. Like I said, you guys are getting the rough draft of this class tonight. But it was in my spirit. And when something's in my spirit, there's nothing else I could teach. I got to teach it. Ecclesiastes 1:18.
The book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 1 and verse 18.
Actually, read 18 and then we're going to go to 17.
For in much wisdom is much grief.
In much wisdom is much grief. In knowledge there is sorrow. To know, because you know something at a level that other people don't. You feel it. It's like when Christ looked upon the people and he had compassion for them in that moment, right? In Matthew 9. It's because of all he knows. It's because of all he saw. It's kind of like, I'll joke a lot. And I'll talk about how jacked up we can be. How we can be black, so to speak, right?
With niggas.
All right. That's what I mean. Right? I'm talking about the stereotype of what we are, right? And there's truth to it. Because many of us were that. Lord's will not no more. But when I see those qualities come back, those tendencies come back, it frustrates me. And you know why it frustrates me? Because I see how great we really are. A leader knows. Because why would we do what we do without any earthly incentive from it if we thought that none of you were going to make it? If we thought that none of you were worth anything? So you have to understand, when you're getting checked, when you're getting corrected, when you see the intensity of how we do it sometimes, the anger that we have, the righteous indignation, it's from a place because we know that each and every one of you are so much more. And to let yourself err, it's frustrated disappointment. But like I said, you got to be on this side sometimes to see it. You don't feel it. All you're thinking in that moment is like, damn. And the ones that do get it, they'll actually feel shame from it. Because they feel like they let, the same way I said that they were willing to, for David, do that, they'll feel shame that they disappointed their leader and that they let them down. The ones that get offended and emotional about it, do with that what you will. Come on, read this verse again.
For in much wisdom is much grief. And he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow.
Heavy is the head. So the first heaviness is dealing with the weight of responsibility and the accountability that comes with it. And then the knowledge brings sorrow, right? Let's read 17.
Verse 17, and I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly.
Right, because in knowing that wisdom, see, in order to be really wise, what it really means is that ignorance has no place. So when you see ignorant things, to be fully wise, you have to know and be able to identify ignorance and the wise and the smart, right? You need to know both sides of it, right? I'll give you an example. I'll use the sports analogy. Baseball. A hitter's sitting up there, and those that are really excellent at their craft, at that sport, they're able to identify the cutter from the slider, from the curveball, from the fastball, from the two-seam, from the four-seam, out the hand in the fractions of seconds that they have. You think they're going up there. You're like, damn, I wonder why I always sucked at baseball. Because you're just trying to beat the hell out the ball. The greatest hitters in the game can identify what's coming out the hand. As leaders, you got to be able to see. And that's when you say, that's really with discernment and how discernment is honed. It's honed because you're able to say, that's this spirit, that's that spirit. And how do you do that? By this as your guide, as your star, as your navigation, and then exercise of use. You need the reps. You need the reps. You got to be able to see and go through the repetitions of it, right? And that's how you're able to say this. And then the brother or sister that you're dealing with say, no, that's not the spirit. No, I'm telling you, I know. No, that's not the spirit. That's what it is. You're like, you don't know me. I know you better than you think. The one that I don't know is the person that you're growing into yet, because that's not fully manifested. But who you are, I see it, because I've seen it over and over again, right? I've seen it over and over again, right? Read 17 again.
And I gave my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly.
Come on.
I perceive that this also is vexation of spirit.
Heavy is the head. Uneasy lies the head that wears that crown, right? So the more you understand, the more you carry. The higher up you go in rank and responsibility, the more you carry. You are more carefree without the weight of the ranks, of the responsibilities. It's Cypher in the Matrix. Ignorance is bliss. He couldn't bear reality. He couldn't bear the madness and the folly that was on the other side. to the point where he said, I just want to be plugged back in. And he said, I don't want to remember anything. He said, I don't want to remember it. Because once you see that, you can't unsee it. That's why it takes God giving you to a reprobate mind to leave this truth and never repent. That's why he calls it like going back to your vomit. Because once you see, once you know, and you know, you'll see people and be like, damn, I just cannot believe how they went back to that. That's God in action. You didn't want to retain God in your knowledge, he gives you to a reprobate mind. The more you understand, the more you carry, right? Solomon, again, teaches that awareness brings pain because leadership opens your eyes to things other people ignore. Leadership opens your eyes to things other people ignore. Ignorance is comfort. Insight is weight. Knowing is heavy. Yet, that's the fine line. That's what gives birth to discernment. That's what gives birth to discernment. To see both sides of it. To know the grief and to not know it. Right? Let's get Sirach 10 and 1.
Did you want Romans 9?
Oh, let me get that. I'm sorry. I want to give an example with Paul. Come on.
9 and what verse?
Start at 1.
The book of Romans, chapter 9 and verse 1. I say the truth in Christ. I lie not. My conscience also bearing me witness.
He's talking about the same thing that Christ was talking, that Solomon was talking about. I mean, I wasn't wrong when I said that. That was the spirit. The same thing that Solomon's talking about, right? Well, we just read in Ecclesiastes 1, 17 and 18, right? Go ahead, come on.
My conscience also bearing me witness.
Right, the conscience bears you witness is this whole process of knowledge and sorrow that I just explained. Come on.
In the Holy Ghost, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart.
Why? Come on.
For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh.
That's the weight of leadership that Paul saw. That's what he never saw as a Pharisee, and he was a leader of the people, but he saw it in Christ. And he said, I wish I could take that burden away from my people, for what I saw, for what I see. Great heaviness, great sorrow, right? Same thing like we see that Solomon was saying. Now let's go to Sirach 10. That's all I wanted from there. Sirach 10 and 1.
The book of Sirach, chapter 10 and verse 1. A wise judge will instruct his people.
Come on.
And the government of a prudent man is well ordered.
So this kind of goes into what I was saying as far as what? You can't. Some of you have the rank and the leadership, but you're still being tried in it. And your whole own life is out of order, but you want to be the authority to give people advice on things. And yeah, you can quote and give them a scripture. You have that knowledge. But you don't have the wisdom because how come you haven't applied those same scriptures to your own situation in your own life? It's impossible. It's impossible to do. And it's hypocrisy if you do. Measure yourself. You say, oh, but I'm over this man. Then seek counsel with somebody else who does have it together. Or even be so bold and honorable enough to say, you know, man, I don't think this is something that I could really give you that counsel on. But this brother right here, he going to be able to help you out with that. So let's get him over here too. Let's talk about that. And in your mind, you might even learn something. Right? Come on, read that again.
A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered.
Come on.
As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers.
Right. And why? So that can be good or bad. As you move through that can be good or bad, how you set that up. As you are, that's how you're going to be. That's how they're going to be. Because effective leaders will try to make more effective leaders. Despite the obstacles, despite what's there. And you're going to see those patterns of effective, positive behavior be duplicated and modeled. And it don't mean that you necessarily create other yous, but the same spirit, that same manifestation of that spirit then starts permeating through others, right? I'll tell you what, I've seen it in the way some of you have changed the way you teach in your classes and things like that. And I'll chuckle and I'll be like, okay, they getting it. They learning. And I'm not saying y'all teaching like me. You've made that spirit your own. I've seen y'all make that spirit your own. From the way that you use examples. I'll give you another example. Bishop started doing all these videos and stuff like that, and then all leadership eventually got behind it to support the teaching with that. That does not mean that we copied it. It means that we all took that same type of spirit to expand the teaching so that we have those visualizations for it. Because every one of us does it different. We'll reference a book, we'll reference a video, we'll reference a clip, or whatever it is, right? And every one of us puts our spirit into it, right? And how we do that. Go ahead, come on, we're going to verse 3.
As the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers.
Come on.
And what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein.
Now, we know, obviously, that can be for the bad, but I want to focus on the good. That's the weight. That's the judgment and accountability, right? That's that measure of that crown. What we're starting to see is what we went through in steps 1 and steps 2 is going to manifest itself in how you lead the people so that you understand that sovereignty and that power that's given to you. You ever heard the term garbage in, garbage out? If you a trash garbage leader, what do you think you're going to have in your congregation? And let me tell you, I'm confident it's enough to know where I'm effective, but I'm never so prideful or ignorant that I don't insert myself in every level of accountability for the shortcomings of each and every one of you. I'm always, and the way I do that is, I know it was this immediate brother's actions or this sister. Let me go back. Was there something I missed? Was there something I didn't do? Was there something I didn't say? And not because I want to punish myself, and that's what a leader should do. That's the level of accountability you have to have. And say, okay. And let me tell you something. Even if it's small, it's always something that I can find. And even if I didn't see it before, I'll say, now I'm noted. And now I know next time I'm going to say this or I'm going to do that to avoid that type of situation. It's another reason I go through so much detail when I try to break down a scripture. I'll try to give multiple examples. I'll try to give different analogies because I want to try to leave no stone unturned, so to speak, and make sure that it seeps into your brain, right? Go ahead, come on.
An unwise king destroyeth this people.
Right. So notice, you think king automatically means wise. You think leader or rank or stewardship or office automatically means wise. It doesn't. You can be an unwise ruler. Go ahead, come on.
But through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited.
Let's look up prudence real quick. Let's look up prudence. I've looked up this before, but I love prudence. It says you can be unwise, but through prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited, right? Prudence.
Prudence. The quality or effect of being prudent.
Which means what? Come on.
Or wise in practical affairs, as by providing for the future.
Right. So you're thinking of the future, not of just the people, but the nation and the individual. And it says wives. Practical affairs means I can relate. I can get down to your level. I never am so far gone in my leadership that I can't go ahead. That's when you read about Paul saying condescend to men of low estate, right? A lot of you only know condescend because, you're speaking condescending to me, right? The offensive part. But to condescend means I can come and get at your level and see eye to eye and try to touch the spirit that you have on you. Don't always work for everybody. The rebellious, stubborn that got the wall up in front, you just, all right? But some of y'all that are worth it, maybe I'll keep chiseling. Sometimes I take a break. I got to let my hands heal. You know, when you punch a wall, your knuckles, I got to take a break. And then maybe I'll come back and work with you later if I see that it's worthwhile. Sometimes I just write you off for a season. I say, all right, whatever. All right? Maybe you come back and learn something, right? So practical matters, right? And then read the second one.
Caution with regard to practical matters. Discretion.
Discretion. You know, that makes me think of, it's in Sirach. Is it in the 40s? The one about giving more heavy fetters and do nothing without discretion? Where is that? No, 33. 33. I'm sorry, I said the 40. 33. And
Start at 27?
Start at 28.
The book of Sirach, chapter 33 and verse 28. Set him to work as is fit for him. If he be not obedient, put on more heavy fetter.
Come on.
But be not excessive toward any.
Excessive is really going into don't be unwise. Don't rule in ignorance. Practice prudence. I'm going to prove it to you. Come on.
But be not excessive toward any. And without discretion, do nothing.
Discretion is prudence. Another word for discretion is prudence, right? Because some of y'all think discretion means let me be secretive. Let me be discreet, right? You gotta get into the vocabulary sometimes to really understand. You're like, yeah, I know what that means. You know how it is with English especially. See, Spanish for the most part, right, as hard as it is with all the verbs and stuff sometimes, like Captain Issachar reached out to me the other day. I guess he's trying to do some Spanish. And, man, I got to look it up what he said. I got to read it, exactly what he said. Hold on. I'm going to look it up. I'll give you an example. This goes with what I'm talking about with the words, right? And what did he say to me? He said, where he at? Here's his message. He said, why is Spanish so crazy? 3 different ways to say of course. Claro, por supuesto, con gusto. 3 different ways to say the same thing, right? That's the verb part. But with English, right, usually Spanish, though, is the word and the definition is what it is, right? That's why I say whenever we go to these Spanish countries and we show them out the scripture, unless they're being stiff-necked and rebellious, it's like, damn, okay, it is, right? Or I'll give you an example with the image of Christ. Sometimes you got to take it back. And you'll be like, all right, so, bronce bruñido, refulgente como un horno. What is it, right? Burnt brass in an oven. Como café. Okay, café is black, right? Okay, so got to be café. Even with café con leche, it's brown, right? So even if they don't want to accept it, you get them on the word. English ain't too much like that, right? Because you have synonyms and all types of stuff, right? This is one of them, discretion and prudence, right? Yeah, discretion can mean secretive, right? But what it really is dealing with using wisdom in practical matters, right? Okay, let's go back. Let's read verse 3 again.
The book of Sirach, chapter 10 and verse 3. An unwise king destroyeth his people. But through the prudence of them which are in authority, the city shall be inhabited.
Right. The city shall be inhabited by the prudence of them which are in authority. Let's get Luke 12:48. Luke 12:48.
The book of St. Luke, chapter 12 and verse 48. But he that knew not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten with few stripes.
Right. And this parable is going into something else. But Luke 12 and 48 is one of my favorite scriptures, right? I have a lot of favorite, but this is another one of my, especially when it comes to leadership. This is one of my favorite scriptures, right? Notice what it talks about. Them that do not and did commit things worthy of stripes shall be beaten, right? With few stripes. Come on.
For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required.
Right, letting you know that goes back to the elements of wisdom that we read about in Wisdom of Solomon 6, in Ecclesiastes with the sorrow. Remember, it said you're going to know sorrow and madness. You open yourself up so more is expected of you. This is where God says he tries you. This is where he says he judges your counsels. You're basically saying, put the spotlight on me, and you certainly will have it on you, versus those that like to be in the shadows, right? Don't put no skin in the game. Don't put anything on the line, right? You got to wager something. You got to put something in to get something out. This truth will never do its perfect work in you you sitting on the sidelines and playing the edges. You got to get into the thick of it. And to get into the thick of it, many don't want to do it because it goes into that natural man beholding himself in the glass, right? The Bible will tell you so much about yourself if you let it. And it's not always cheerful. It's painful. It's humbling beyond measure. And many of us don't necessarily have the spine for it. So you rather run from it. And those are the ones that are sensual and separate themselves and all of that. But I digress a little bit. I digress. Read this again, 12:48.
For unto whomsoever much is given, of him shall be much required.
Come on.
And to whom men have committed much, of him they will ask the more.
Right. So this still ties into that same theme. The weight, the heaviness, the uneasiness of those that are in any type of stewardship or authority, any type of preeminence, right? 1 Corinthians 6:2.
The book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 6 and verse 2. Do ye not know that the saints shall judge the world?
Right. Don't you know that the saints will judge the world? That sounds like what we read in Wisdom of Solomon 6:1. Ye that judge the earth, right? Go ahead, come on.
And if the world shall be judged by you, are ye unworthy to judge the smallest matter?
Right. He's saying, listen, the little things that I am trying you with now, they're going to be so much greater in that time to come. You talk about you want the kingdom and you want rulership. Hey, king. Hey, shalom, king. Yeah, king. Go ahead, come on.
Know ye not that we shall judge angels?
Who knows what that means? It's talking about rulers. Aren't we going to have kings at our feet, right? Kings are going to be our servants and all of that, right? So it's not talking about angels in heaven. It's talking about rulers. What is heaven? Rulership. Rulership. A lot of y'all thinking, see, that's why I said I want somebody that's still learning. Because I know the rest of us, well, shame on you if you've been here a while and you got rank and you thought that meant judging heavenly angels, right? Right? Like the angelic angels that stand in the sun, right? Yeah, that's not what that's talking about, all right? Read that verse again, come on.
Know ye not that we shall judge angels? How much more things that pertain to this life?
Right. So he's saying we're going to judge rulers. We're going to judge kings, right? How you going to judge angels? Angels don't do no wrong. They do what they're supposed to do. Ain't no judgment in that. Yo, we talk about the 1,000-year reign. See, y'all not even ready for rulership. Y'all got no idea. You're going to be telling Trump what to do. That's right? Yeah. You're going to be telling King, whatever the hell his name over there. King Andrew, what's his name? The prince that became king now because mom died. In England, whatever the hell his name is, Henry, right? King, is it Henry? I don't remember what the hell his name. What the hell with them in their monarchy? But you know what I'm talking about. See, don't be offended, Messiah. I didn't remember the king's name over there either. All right, Messiah, like it's me. Your boy was hanging out with my boy at Tabernacle, right? Read it one more time. Verse 3, come on.
Know ye not that we shall judge angels? How much more things that pertain to this life?
The answer's up there because he says, don't you know the saints will judge the world, right? So, I mean, if you read verse 2, it kind of tells you, right? Some of y'all still give me the face like, no, it meant the heavenly angels. Right? So don't you know that you're going to judge the world? So if you're going to judge the rulers of this world, right? He says, how much more little things amongst yourselves can you not figure out and judge, right? It's weighty. It's heavy. He's trying to tell you that the trying of this is what you do now and the type of leader you are now is going to show you the type of leader you're going to be later in other things, right? That's why it says some will get 5 cities, some will be over 10, right? So he's saying, and the ones who can't judge at all righteously, they ain't going to get any type of leadership, right? That's the one that hide his talent up. See, a lot of y'all forget that part. About, oh, I knew you were a steer, Lord. Those of you who are just in this for yourself, right? Just checking the boxes. Don't think that that's necessarily going to do you too good in that day of judgment. The Lord wants hot or cold. That's why he says, lukewarm, I'm spitting out. Remember, hot or cold don't mean cold like you ain't about nothing. It means be good for something versus good for nothing, except warm in a seat. Be good for something. Cold drinks are useful, right?
Right.
Cold drinks refreshing on a hot day, right? Warm drinks good on a cool day. Who likes anything lukewarm? You like warm beer? You like warm soda that lost the bubbles?
Hell nah.
You like warm water? Well, you nut jobs that think cold water does something and I'm gonna die if I drink cold water.
The hell is this?
That whole phenomenon that came from the internet. There's a whole non-quality. Yeah, there's a whole thing. Yeah, the water one. They know who I'm talking about. No, I have to drink warm temperature water because cold water does this and this inside your body. You know, like your body's not 98 degrees. Like it's not gonna warm up the minute you drink it anyway. Anyway, let me stop. It's getting too power hour-ish. I'm gonna go on a rant. Read verse 3 again. Let me get back to my point.
Verse 3,
We almost done. Come on.
know ye not that we shall judge angels? How much more things that pertain to this life?
Right. So you got to be able to judge the things that pertain now, the day to day. And many of you can't do it within your own selves, within making decisions, right? So you have to realize that these verses together is the foundation of spiritual accountability. This is why I chose these, right? Leadership is measured by judgment, not condemnation. Let me say that slow again to all of you. Leadership is measured by judgment, not condemnation. I'll give you an example. Brothers that want to blast a brother for something he did wrong, that want to write him up, I always have to remind brothers, especially when they get you mad, what are you trying to accomplish by admonishing them? Is it to flex your authority or to blast the spirit so they can put it behind them and be better? Are you trying to grow the brother or destroy them? And they might seem like the same thing because they sound the same when you're delivering the correction. The only thing that's different is from what place in your spirit is it's coming from. So when I curse you out and I get on you, right? It's somebody who has bad intentions, just wants to break a brother, it's going to sound the same. When the spirit does its perfect work, it's when it came from a good place. It's when it came from where it needed to come from. And that takes participation on the other brother's part, right? That's what Matthew 18 is about. It says gain your brother. Sometimes y'all think that means that you have to, the conversation should be rubbing your back. No, I might have to tell you the facts. Even if they're the facts as I perceive them. And then we're going to gain each other, right? So it's not condemnation, but judgment and righteous discernment, all right? True authority demands integrity, right? Do you understand what integrity is? Doing what's right even when nobody's looking or nobody knows that's an opportunity for, right? Not in my presence only. That's integrity, right? Wisdom and restraint. There's some brothers or sisters I can't talk to the same way. I'll tell you how many times I'm ready to blast a brother because of something he did, and the thing will come out totally different. When I've spoke about it with you guys, I'm like, F-bombs and all this stuff. And then they're looking at me like, damn, that went different than I thought it would. Right? I thought Deke was ready to. And it's because I let that spiritual discernment guide me. And trust me, sometimes it come out the flame that I was intended to flame with. Right? And that's why I laugh when some of you be like, oh, Deacon blasting me. No, ma'am. That was not blasting. And if you thought that was blasting, Lord help you if you ever have to get blasted. Jesus, right? We're not called to avoid judgment, but to mature in it. You understand that? And that goes for others. That goes for both sides of it. We're not called to avoid judgment, right? So like the brothers that left up out of here, right? And they've been hiding from us, right? Because they couldn't take their judgment, right? Right? Of the Levite persuasion. That's just one. You know I don't care. I'll use discretion and not say the name. But if you know, you know. But if you know, you know. All right? We're not called to avoid judgment, but to mature in it, right? That goes in where it talks about chastening for the moment, right? Don't feel good, but afterwards it brings forth the peaceable fruit. Right? And I'll tell you, some of the best leaders in Israel, I remember how often they got chastised, right? But peaceable fruit came after with it, right? So hold that in you. Hold that in you. I'm going to give you a few more scriptures, and then I'm going to move to end, right? Let's get Numbers 11 and 14. Numbers 11 and 14.
The book of Numbers, chapter 11 and verse 14. I am not able to bear all this people alone, because it is too heavy for me. And if thou deal thus with me, kill me, I pray thee, out of hand, if I have found favor in thy sight, and let me not see my wretchedness.
Right, because that's how heavy it is to deal with Israel. He said, I cannot do this, Lord. Read 14 again.
Verse 14. I am not able to bear all this people alone, because it is too heavy for me.
Right. He reached a breaking point, right? This is Moses who parted the Red Sea, redeemed and led his people out of Egypt. And he says, this weight, Lord, this is too much for me. Come on.
Verse 15. And if thou deal thus with me, kill me.
He said, I'd rather die than deal with Israel alone. If I gotta bear these black people one more day, just take me now, Lord. Just take me now. Go ahead, come on.
Kill me, I pray thee, out of hand, if I have found favor in thy sight.
Man, I've done a lot, Lord. You pulled me. I resisted. You said you called me. He says, give me this mercy and just kill me now. Go ahead, come on.
And let me not see my wretchedness.
And
the Lord said unto Moses, gather unto me 70 men of the elders of Israel.
And in God's infinite wisdom, he tried Moses until this point. This wasn't a lack of awareness on the Most High's part. He said, I needed you to get to this point to now give you the help that you need in bringing you more. Now you're ready to have charge over other leaders. This is that sorrow, that madness, that folly that all leaders have to go through. And if you as a leader have not gotten to these points and these examples that I'm giving, then understand your growth is not where you might think it is or you believe it is. Right? Go ahead, come on.
And the Lord said unto Moses, gather unto me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom thou knowest to be the elders of the people, and officers over them, and bring them unto the tabernacle of the congregation, that they may stand there with thee.
Come on.
And I will come down and talk with thee there. And I will take of the spirit which is upon thee, and will put it upon them.
Garbage in, garbage out. If you're an unwise king, your people and your officers will be the same. There's a level of maturation spiritually, growth-wise, all these things that I spoke about that you have to go through as a leader before you're going to be able to bring forth other effective leaders. Go ahead, come on.
And they shall bear the burden of the people with thee, that thou bear it not thyself alone.
So you quite literally, as an effective leader, give of your spirit to the leaders that are in your charge, to the people that are under you. A leader who has matured, who has gotten to that place, that's an effective leader, gives of himself in a way that no one will ever understand until you learn that kung fu, until you walk in them shoes. So be careful, those that look outside inward. That's why in Thessalonians it says, know them which labor among you and esteem them highly for their work's sake. because there's something there that you don't realize. And your spirit has to be strengthened in order to give of your spirit. Much like God breathed the breath of life into Adam, and then Adam went ahead and gave it to everybody else in his way. And firstly to his wife. And that's deeper beyond what I would talk about now in this class. But that also goes into the part about dwelling according to knowledge and giving honor unto the weaker vessel, to those of you who embark on marriage and to your spouse. So even Moses, the greatest of prophets, reached his breaking point, right? And God's solution wasn't to rebuke him. It was delegation, right? So true leadership learns to share the load. You train others to carry what you can't, and that's not weakness. That's wisdom. Some of you don't want to build that power to delegate, right? But more importantly, you can't even get there until you've been tried to the point where you're almost ready to die because you're so pissed off with Israel and dealing with all this stuff, right? I got some other verses here, but like I said, I don't want to keep y'all too long. What I will do is this. Hold on. Let me see where I'm going to cut this out a little bit. Let me go to, let's get 2 Corinthians 11:28. I like to keep the new moon classes short, and people watch them, and I think it works out good.
The book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 11 and verse 28. Besides those things.
Start at 27.
Verse 27. In weariness and painfulness, in watchings often, in hunger and thirst, in fastings often, in cold and nakedness.
You know, because as a leader, I can almost guarantee you, the effective leaders, whenever we fast, we're never remiss to fast for all of you. Every time. Every time. And I pray for laborers. I pray daily that the spirit of simplicity be lifted from my people, and that he increase each and every one of y'all in discernment, amongst many other things and blessings, right? When I do the anointing, like, it's never a light thing for me. I think about, you know, like, what might be needful, right? What areas I need to touch when we're dealing with that, right? Read this again.
The book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 11 and verse 27.
Uh-huh.
In weariness and painfulness, in watchings often, in hunger and thirst, in fastings often, in cold and nakedness.
You know what it's really saying here? It goes back to what I was bringing out in the last class about where he says, I will gladly spend and be spent for you, right? This is basically what he's saying. Go ahead, come on.
Besides those things that are without.
Beside those things that are without, come on.
That which cometh upon me daily, the care of all the churches.
What is he really saying? He's saying, despite everything I got to deal with to teach this word, despite everything that I feel, on top of that, I have the responsibility of the care of all the churches. That falls to me. That's why it says we got to take the oversight thereof, not by bitter constraint. Not just because I know that this is what I got to do. It's because you feel it. And you willingly take that. Everybody thinks it's all, let me put a crown on and, yeah, king. There's so much weight that comes with that. Unless you're just all right with being the unwise king, right? Then it don't matter. I got more verses for this, and when I go into the bigger one, but what Paul's really saying here, especially when he talks often, I mean, he talks about it when he says that we don't need commendation, ye are epistle. When he talks about where we're hated, and the more I love you, the more I'm hated. When he talks about I'll spend and be spent for you. When he says this here about the care of the churches, what he's really saying is that leadership reshapes your perception. It changes how you see everything. That's when you really see the matrix for what it is. That's when you see the code and not the people, not the woman in the red dress, not any of that stuff. It's when you realize that there is no spoon, right? So some of my favorite things that I quote from that particular movie, right? To lead, by definition, is to see differently. Your eyes are not my eyes. What you see, I see that and more. And with that comes all types of burden, of heaviness, of uneasiness, of all the things that go with it. And it's easy to not let it have its perfect work and let it crush you. People, not everybody is built or has it in them to get to that point, to let it strengthen you. It feels heavy, it feels burdensome, but just like when you go to the gym and 10 pounds felt like the heaviest thing in the world, and then you move to 20, and then you're up into hundreds or 50s or 60s, whatever it is for whatever exercise that you're doing, and now 60 feels like 10 pounds to you, right? That's what happens as you go through leadership, and that's the way that you see things different. Leaders carry people's struggles in silence. We feel their needs before they speak. That's discernment. And the price of that vision in all that, it actually makes you more vulnerable. Because you would think vulnerability and strength don't go together. But what you do is, in order to be an effective leader, there's that uneasiness. You have to open yourself up to all of that. You cannot be a cold, frigid, compassionless leader and be effective. Those aren't the good leaders. It's the ones that are in tune with the heartbeat of the body and the people that are in their charge. And to do that, by its definition, opens you up into you sorrow, you groan, you moan with them. And all of it parallels to the same way Christ is with us, the same way the Lord is with us. That's why it says he's long suffering. He goes through all those things with us. None of that changes anything, right? Last scripture, John 19:2.
The book of St. John, chapter 19 and verse 2.
I want to show you something symbolic.
And the soldiers plaited a crown of thorns.
Plaited
A crown of thorns. And put it on his head. And they put on him a purple robe.
Christ's crown here was not gold, but it was thorns. True crowns bleed. You bleed with the people. You sorrow with them. You carry it in humility, not pride. That's why I'm joking with, oh, come on, King. Because you put on a crown, even when you role play, what happens? Right? You start, chest out and all of this, right? It was fitting. What they'd used to mock him, God put in their spirit to show all the burden and weight that our ultimate leader, our one true king, carried with them for our people, for his people, right? Every godly leader wears a version of that crown of thorns. So when you're in that position, you bleed with the people, you sorrow with the people. It's like I said earlier, the frustration is not from a place of not what you can't see, but it's from the frustration of what you know, and it comes from compassion with our people. So every sin, every error, every wrong that happens, it's a righteous anger and vexation that happens for every leader that he sees when he's in the right spirit. And I'll tell you, there's leaders that I've seen that something happens, and this is why in Galatians it says, if a man be overtaken in fault, consider thyself. It's not for us to be like, damn, how could they? Damn, why would they? Leaders understand fully the emotions that drive people to commit the sins that we do. We understand it fully. We'll still want an explanation of your rationale of why you did it. But this is where the compassion, because with judgment, there always comes a way back if godly sorrow is shown and repentance is brought forth. And it starts with acceptance and accountability of those actions. People always ask, when can I come back? That's between you and God. It's not always a set time frame. And this is why we tell you, you need to stay in touch. Nobody's going to chase you or look for you. It's not the person's job that's over you to look for you. You're supposed to look for them to show them your godly sorrow. And how do you show them your godly sorrow? Not sorry. It's shown in your words and your updates and in your self-reflection. And when I see self-reflection reports that are deflection reports, instead of accountability and ownership of the sin or error that you committed, you're not ready to come back. When you reach out and you demand that you come back, when you have the audacity to show up to school and say, why I'm not back, you're not ready to come back. We want to hear your accountability, all that type of stuff. Leadership is not about status, it's about sacrifice. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I'm going to stop there, all right? Like I said, I got a longer version of this class that I want to do. Lord's will, life lasts. I'll keep it holstered. And if I get an opportunity, because I already got like 2 pretty lengthy classes lined up that I want to do for Sabbath classes. And I'm trying to save them. They're chambered for that. Lord's will, y'all got something out of this, all right?
Across the earth, the prophets move. From city streets to distant lands, the message is the same. Israel must rise. Through every quest, every journey, the truth spreads. No border can contain it. No distance can silence it. Our nation lives in every moment. In joy, we celebrate marriages. In sorrow, we honor our dead. On the Sabbath, we gather as one. Families rejoicing together, bound by the commandments of God. Yet are we tried. From the stones in Kenya to the hatred in Montana, we endure as a soldier of the Lord. And still, the mission expands. On the airwaves, on the screens, in every nation under heaven, Israel's voice is heard. We build our communities. We raise our children in royalty. We restore what was broken. We clean what was defiled. We show the world who we are. This is Israel united in Christ. Nation in motion. Nation endures.